Hi, Chad Hendren, Principal Solutions Architect with AWS. I focus on communications as a service, CX, and generative AI. Today, I'm proud to introduce our partner, Vonage, who's a very innovative, progressive partner focusing on a solution called Fraud Defender. Vonage offers communication platform as a service solutions, and Fraud Defender is actually taking advantage of a lot of AWS AI, ML, and generative AI solutions. Today, you'll see those moving parts and the architecture, how it comes together. I'll turn it over to the Vonage team.
Hi, my name is Courtney Loda from Vonage, part of Ericsson, and we're here today to walk through to you the value that we're bringing as this incredible, innovative, and actually industry-first type of solution. And so I think what would be great is, Morsi, if you could help us with starting off with what are the challenges that we have within our marketplace?
Yeah. Thank you, Courtney. My name is Morsi Chikruhu. I'm Director of Global Alliances at Vonage. And the Vonage Fraud Protection Solution actually addresses a large number of challenges that organizations encounter in terms of fraud and fraud protection. As a first step, organizations are encountering challenges in terms of identity theft and in terms of account takeover. This means that fraudsters today are capable of combining several technologies, including telecommunications capabilities, in order to hack and social engineer into customer accounts. When a type of attack like account takeover happens, this causes usually a lot of financial losses for the customer, and it provokes also brand damage to the organization. We also help organizations to protect themselves from telecommunications fraud, which happens when a fraudsters try to abuse actually, for example, verification processes to benefit their financial health. So this is the number of challenges that we encounter today.
But I think what's really important that we want to highlight here is as we take this approach with the generative AI, as well as the partnership that we have with our Vonage team here, is it's really about how we're protecting against the fraud and identity fraud that's happening. And how that then connects with network APIs, our SIM swap, even our CPaaS solutions, and then how it then progresses into account takeover, which is really very troublesome for not only the consumer, but also businesses, fintech in particular. And then finally, how this is going to really help in curbing the financial losses that are being seen right now with fraudulent activities that are happening every day, constantly. So why don't we go into taking a look at the architecture?
Absolutely. So the architecture, as you can see, is a completely cloud-native and serverless architecture that is deployed on AWS. Customers can purchase this through the AWS Marketplace, and they can benefit from all the advantages of this solution, and it is easily customizable. What we can see in the architecture is a number of components. First of all, there is the application, which is basically the vehicle through which the user interacts with the banking services or with the financial institution. There's the application backend, which is located here. And then we find the Vonage Fraud Protection Suite of APIs. So these APIs are based on the Camara Network APIs. And what they enable to do is to get real-time insights about what is happening on the network. With these insights, we collect data that can help us identify whether a transaction or an authentication process is fraudulent or not. And so the information that we collect is also fed into Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock is a generative AI, an LLM model that allows us basically to have a feedback on those transactions and whether those transactions were actually fraudulent or not. And then we use the feedback from Amazon Bedrock in order to feed our Fraud Defender. And that allows to close the loop between what is happening in real time and how the system should respond to fraudulent attacks, or in the other better case, where the user is legitimate and therefore grant access to that user. So what we can see here is the full process that starts by the user asking to register or to authenticate to, for example, a banking application. there are multiple steps that happen. All of these happened in a number of 100 milliseconds, but the process is actually behind it is actually a multi-layer approach of making checks about the fraudulent capabilities and fraudulent insights. For example, when a user tries to connect and supply their email address, password, and their phone number, we start checking whether this phone number is a fraudulent number based on the fraud defender knowledge base. And then we can move on with checking other databases and other telecom network as well. So the CSPs also have information about that. We combine all of this so that the bank has a complete knowledge about that fraudulent number. We do also SIM swap checks. The SIM swap check enables us to say if there is maybe a telecom fraud happening in order to take over the phone number of the user, and that basically can give us information whether a transaction, for example, like a password reset request, is this a legitimate access or is this a fraudster trying to take over an account of a legitimate user? We do also silent authentication. Silent authentication is a very secure process that can replace one-time passwords, for example. It prevents social engineering, and at the same time, it prevents a better guarantee about the phone line that we are using in order to authenticate the user. The device location can enable us to verify that the user who is, for example, connecting to a bank account from a certain country or a certain region is actually also located in that region. And this is based on the network information, the real-time network information that the telecom operator can provide us through the Camara Network API. And finally, we can proceed with Amazon recognition. Amazon recognition does the user authentication based on facial recognition. And this is a powerful process because it has a liveness check. Liveness check is an important piece of the process because fraudster can now use social media, for example, to recover photos and videos of the user and try to use that for the authentication process.
So Marcy, that means that there's actually 3 network APIs that we're talking about, which is number verification, SIM swap, and verify location.
Absolutely. So these are network APIs that are available today in a certain number of countries, and they provide us with those real-time insights that otherwise we would not be able to get them through the telecommunications network.
So really what this also does is it takes away the need for the user to have to sit and try to play with a password anymore. So what you're saying is that you don't have to remember your passwords anymore, because I'm terrible at that. And so now this is just automagic.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is happening with this solution? Usually when we increase the protection and the fraud protection in a certain workload, this usually adds friction to the user. And what is happening with this process is exactly the opposite. We're increasing the capabilities of fraud protection. And at the same time, with mechanisms like silent authentication and facial recognition, we actually reduce the friction. And we increase the friction only when it is really needed, when we have insights that are telling us that this could be a fraudulent attempt to take over the account of our legitimate user.
Okay, but one final thing, which makes I think it really cool, is that this Amazon recognition and the whole generative AI all of a sudden starts making the products even smarter, more intelligent, more predictive, which equals more secure.
100%. In order to do that, we have Fraud Defender, which is a Vonage API and a service that helps hundreds of thousands of customers to protect their network. And we use the insights that are coming from Fraud Defender to protect our customers. And what we do with the generative AI, we are capable of closing the loop between the authentication process, any fraudulent activities and suspicions, and we feed that back to the Fraud Defender. And that increases the security over time. And also we fine-tune the parameters and we make sure that the level of friction corresponds exactly to the risk that we are perceiving on the network.
So again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and learn about network APIs, the value that network APIs and the generative AI and our partnership that we're we are embarking upon with AWS. It's incredibly exciting. We have so much that's coming, and there's so much more ahead of us. But this is just the first big step of something that's incredibly innovative out there in the marketplace.